a summoner. It's just summoner.
I'm really sorry I did this to us.
You see what McDonald's is up to right now?
With McDonald's?
Yeah, they go into some Asian play.
It's
like hardcore.
Yeah.
I don't know if you've seen this, Arvid, but
it's like full anime commercials for McDonald's, and they're like, we're becoming WickDonald's.
WickDonald's?
Mm-hmm.
Like food stamps?
No.
Nope, just W instead of an M.
They're becoming the Wario selves.
You know, because they're going to the other side of the world, I guess is what they're trying to say. Like, they're flipping it upside down. They've dug through to anime land. It's very weird.
Okay.
They're referring to it as the WickDonald's universe.
Yeah, yeah.
So it's like an anime Grimace?
God, that one's going to be the hottest thing I've ever seen. I don't know if I'm prepared for that.
I mean...
Oh, actually, I think I just found anime Grimace, and I got a new waifu.
Oh.
Do fast food chains do these publicity things just so podcasters have something to talk about? Because I feel like that's just like the only like arena where this stuff comes up. Oh no.
Here's a 30-second. This is episode 2.
Try new savory chili McDonald's sauce, only at McDonald's.
So like, okay.
And I was just watching anime this morning before we started this, and this is a lot for me.
Like, I know in Japan, McDonald's is like a whole thing where like they order entire pallets of fries and they all eat it on like in a big pile because why not?
I'll never experience love like that.
Was this appeal to actual Japanese people?
It's not
or
for
is
them.
This
it's
just
for
a
us.
ploy for weebs?
It's for
yeah,
us,
exactly.
Yeah, I doubt this is getting aired in Japan.
Yeah, I'm sure like in actual Japan they have like, Patrick Stewart in like a cat costume, like talking
with
about McDonald's.
Fries being thrown at him as he tries to catch them in his
by
mouth.
Like a guy who's actually like a really famous TV presenter, but we have no idea who he is.
Yep. Yeah, he's their Bob Hope.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, well, speaking of clips to share, I guess just so we can try to get a little taste.
So I didn't finish this video game.
Wow.
Marcus, you didn't finish.
Loser wouldn't finish this video game.
Marcus, you didn't finish the video game.
I didn't even know. Arvid didn't send me the invite, so I didn't have like notice to like power play it.
I'm sorry. Although I think I spared you a little bit.
Wow.
But
we can
also,
get into that later.
Welcome to the Save States podcast where we talk about a video game. And the video game we're talking about is Summoner.
Summoner!
2000s?
It's 2000. It's solid just 2000.
Yeah. 2000, the year 2000, and the game is just Summoner. Not The Summoner, not Summoner, The Shadows of Earth Tree. It's just Summoner.
It needs no colon.
So we're going to go ahead and watch the ending real quick.
Yes, we're going to watch.
Ending.
This isn't the ending. This is once you do your part and complete the entire game like you're supposed to, you are treated to a post-credit scene, and it makes the entire playthrough so worthwhile. So yes, enjoy this.
Gallstaff, you have entered the door to the north. You are now by yourself, standing in a dark room. The pungent stench of mildew emanates from the wet dungeon walls.
Where are the Cheetos?
They're right next to you.
I cast a spell. Where's the Mountain Dew?
In the fridge, duh.
I want to cast a spell.
Can I have a Mountain Dew? Yes, you can have a Mountain Dew. Just go get it.
I can cast any of these, right? On the list?
Yes, any of the first level ones.
I'm gonna get a soda. Anyone want one? Hey, Graham, I'm not in the room, right?
What room?
I want to cast Magic Missile. A room where he's casting all these spells from?
He hasn't cast anything yet.
I am, though, if you'd listen. I'm casting Magic Missile.
Why are you casting Magic Missile? There's nothing to attack here.
I'm attacking the darkness.
Fine.
It's pretty solid. And I didn't know who the Dead
so.
Alewives were.
That's Dan Harmon. Okay, so he didn't write this game.
No. This is just, yeah. I do like these little end credit things, though.
Well, it does kind of explain a little bit as to why it's got a sense of humor, and the entirety of the rest of this game has no sense of humor. So yeah, this is a 3D RPG from the early days of that, to the year 2000, made by Volition. RIP Volition, recently shut down. But you know them from Red Faction and Saints Row and some other good games. But this was pretty early in their careers. And I think that if I were to kind of like think of the most basic, like, I don't want to say this is like the prototypical Western fantasy RPG game. Like it has the elves, it has the magic, it has the dialogue that sounds like it was
There's also
made up
dwarves
by
later.
using
Yeah,
a roll
there's
table.
Dwarves later.
Yeah,
Yep.
there's dwarves. It's very the dialogue is some of the cheesiest stuff I've ever heard in my life. I think a lot of like 90s, 80s sword and sandal action movies had like this kind of, and then you will go to the Tower of Golrath and slay the sorcerer Dingbot and return with me the Jewel of Kringus, and with that we will use it to open the tomb of it. It's all that. It's just all that. But it's got great cover art. I love the cover art. It's by the late Keith Parkinson. Probably most famous for doing the art for the covers of EverQuest, at least the first few expansions. But I will say that's not where the EverQuest analogies kind of ended. Like, I think this kind of felt a little bit like an MMO without anyone else.
I can see that. Yeah.
I think some of that's because it's so big. It's too big for its own good. Like, they finally were on a platform where they had enough file space to make something big. And I think they just wanted to see how far they could go with that. And because of that, areas feel a little too empty. It takes too long to get through places. They had to pad for time with a lot of random encounters that didn't need to be there, which kind of made the whole chain combo system suffer on top of that, because that could have been a lot more streamlined. But since they had so many encounters, they kind of upped the requirements for unlocking new things.
Well, why don't you go into more detail with the combat system then? Because it's not, like, I think playing this, I was expecting it to be kind of your D20, but computerized thing that you got
like
a lot
a
of the time in this period. But this uses its own thing. Like Coder, or Neverwinter Nights.
And there might be some of that happening on the back end that the player's not privy to, but it's not like, you're not seeing like static rolls. So when you enter combat, you can play as all of the characters at once, like cycling through them. And when you're lining up your attack, you have a chance, this one brief moment where a chain will appear and you can do a chain attack, and you can move different attacks into each other. Or really the best strategy is constantly do the same attack over and over and over and over again, so that you can slowly level it up to unlock new chain attacks. One of the biggest issues with that is that you're only then focusing on the one character, because while the other party members are doing combat, they're not chain attacking unless you're doing it for them, which I think that's where their biggest flaw was. They should have tried to kind of flesh out the AI for the other party members more, so that they had a chance to chain attack. It didn't have to be every single time, but they should have just given them a small chance that was maybe based off a stat or level or gear, whatever.
Or given them some other benefit, like maybe having status attacks or something like that to kind of offset the fact that you're you're having them not do
Or,
as much
and
damage.
I know, like, this is 2000, so this hadn't been done much yet, but it had been done in some games prior, and they could have done a little bit of the, I think Tales of Fantasia was one of, like, or the Tales of series was one of the first ones to do this, and it's AI, like, party member combat strategies, right? Where you set up, like, if this, then that statements for them. They could have done that. That would have made things a lot better, but they didn't. And so the combat just feels like it drags on and on. And I wanted it to be a lot more fun because I remember it being similar to Legends of Dragoon, where you're like constantly working on those combos to level them, to unlock the new ones. It's close, but it's not. It just missed the mark on it. If it had just been a straight turn-based system, I think that would have been a lot better. But since they tried to do this like action
Live
real-time
action,
combat, yeah, it just really fucked that up.
Yeah, and it really made every time I got a new character, I was kind of like, oh, what am I going to like? Well, I only got like 2 new characters, but when I got them, I was like, oh, what like spells am I going to get from this character? Like, what can I bring to the game from this character? And it was, oh no, I'm just going to keep.
I was going to say, because all the spells are just, oh, we all have the healing spell. Good.
I'm not gonna
It does kind of feel like they were building something more robust, and they kind of
fulfill it.
maybe
Yeah.
change their mindset.
I do know they were rushed to put this
Yeah.
out. The publisher wanted it out by like a specific deadlines, and I think they wanted to go like another year in development before they put it out. So
Yeah, and you can kind of see that in like they have despite it being like a huge game, there are very few different character models
Yeah.
for the enemies, for NPCs. Like I think like there are, when you're walking around like the main town, there are several NPCs you can get like little
half
quests
of them
from.
look the same. Yeah.
I think like half of them were literally the same guy, and I thought like I had talked to one guy, and it's like no, it doesn't help that the town's also huge.
I
and all
could
the
way
not.
buildings
too
look
big.
exactly the same.
Loading
I was
screens
lost.
are long as shit. Even on
You
the
had
PC.
loading problems?
Yeah.
Mine was like zoop.
No,
too
it was
fast
taking
almost.
a while for mine.
So like I had some problems with the Steam
Yeah, you were
version
saying
for that
that.
reason. I initially bought the Steam version, and it was just like it was loading in like this tiny little box, and I was trying to fix the aspect ratio, but when I did that, it would crash. So then I did some Googling, and like a lot of people said to use the GOG version, and I bought that, and that worked just fine. I didn't have any
Okay.
problems with the
Okay.
version from there. So I don't know if that's just my arcane mixture of video
Sure.
drivers or whatever that just didn't want to work with it, but yeah, like it ran pretty fine. Actually, the controls are a little wonky for this type of game. You kind of like hold to click to move, but once I got used to it, it didn't bother me at all. It was just very initially, it's like this is a non-standard way to make this kind of game, where all your movement is based on where you're clicking, at least on the PC version. I imagine this would be less weird.
Yeah, because it was a
console
strictly PlayStation game when it came out, right?
Yeah.
Or console.
Yeah, it was just
at
on the
least.
PS2. Yeah.
When did the PC version come out?
Like 10, 12 years after. Yeah, I think it
Really,
came out
that
like
late?
2012 or so.
Oh, yeah, you're quite right.
There we go.
2012 or 2014. Yeah. Okay, interesting. So that explains why that was so janky. But again, it didn't bother me once I got used to it.
You obviously didn't play a shit ton of Diablo back in the day.
Well, Diablo has
That's
a different
true.
camera
It's
angle.
also static camera angle.
Yeah, exactly. So like that's like a big difference. You're not like trying to go around corners like by clicking where you're not.
I did hate like anytime you like talk to somebody and it would kind of like bring you in. If they're in a corner, you'd have to like figure out a new camera angle to leave.
Yeah, they did a lot of play around in the 3D space because, and I don't remember a lot of games doing this back then, but they did a lot of in-game cutscene sequence.
Yeah.
Like there's a scene right in the beginning of Act 2 of the game where you're going around as Fleece to break Joseph out of prison.
Joseph being the name
The
of
main character, the reluctant
the
one.
most inspired name.
He's the reluctant hero.
Joe.
Everyman. He's an everyman, right? They're naming him as that.
He's definitely not the chosen
No,
one.
and he,
By-
when he does get the call, he doesn't want to go on it. I do appreciate that. So there's this fun little dynamic. The whole party has their reasons for being attached to Joseph, and they are all negative. They all absolutely despise him, and for their own personal reasons. And Joseph also despises himself, which is kind of interesting. He's got some childhood trauma to deal with, you know.
It's a redemption story.
It is a redemption story. He accidentally killed everyone in his village. Did either of you feel like they were really cribbing a lot of the story from Legend of Dragoon when you played this? Because this felt very like Dart's first farm village that he was in.
I mean, I think that they both take a lot of stuff from like those kind of old fantasy things, like Ator and whatnot,
or the more modern Belgariad.
Yeah, like this just felt so like aside from like the kind of cheesy fantasy tropes and all that stuff, which I don't necessarily dislike, but it takes so long for you to move the plot in this game. The combat's so slow, everything's huge, so it takes forever to get anywhere. Everyone talks like, you know, the most ponderous, like, this is my first time being an NPC at the Ren Fair, basically. So I'm going to use all my Ren Fair words here. So I know you're just asking where the bathroom is, but prithee, sir, tell me, wouldst thou likes to empty thine bowels? Is basically what you have to deal with.
Ask me that once in a while.
Yeah.
Because the answer is yeah.
Yeah. It's usually going to be like, yes, please. Where?
But the problem is it's so slow. Like, I played 11 hours of this game, and it took me forever to even get. Like, I got to the point where you got to the monk monastery place, and even then there was like I had to do, and then that doesn't even include all the grinding I had to do to get past like the rando boss guy. Like, as soon as you get not long after you get to the world map, there's like this horseman demon guy who just kicks your ass, and I just had to go.
The difficulty spikes in this game are very awkward because the issue is the more party members you have, the better, you know, chance you have of survival. But that early game, they didn't scale it for having less party members. It was just a static difficulty the whole way through, regardless. And I wish they'd tweaked that a little bit. Again, I think they focused more on world size than they did everything else that they should have focused on.
Yeah, I mean, and that's admirable for. I mean, especially like I said, this reminds me of an MMO. This could have been an MMO in setting and scale. Like, you can even see it somewhere like where some of the towns just have these huge, wide streets that have no business being this big. But it only makes sense if it's an MMO and you have to have like 250 people run down the street and see themselves. So I don't know. Maybe this was just maybe they started out trying to make an MMO or something. But it also consequently just leads to like so much emptiness and also like the music isn't terrible. Like, it's about what you'd expect for fantasy genre stuff from this time period, but it's so repetitive. Like, all the combat sequences are the same music. All like you have like 2 enemy types you end up fighting, at least in the early parts of the game. I went ahead and watched some VODs of the game after that, and it seems to pick up later, but it's very slow and repetitive to begin with. Like, I think the characters are pretty cookie cutter characters. I don't think they're about what you'd get from this type of genre. Like, it's not like it's necessarily bad. It just, it kind of feels like they picked like the base model, the safest, or even just like the first thing that came to mind, and didn't necessarily work at it. I don't know. I think I could see if I had played this when I was a lot younger, I would have been really excited by this. I mean, because it does feel like an MMO, and there are like you can get really granular with like the items and the equipment and the although I don't know that I noticed a huge difference. Like and that's the other thing is like it does a lot of that old fantasy stuff where it's like, oh, I want to get like I'm in a new town, I want to get new gear for my guys. Yeah. Oh, yeah. So I'm gonna have to go grind because I only have 15 gold, and that means I can buy a pair of pants.
Which that does change later. You'll have like hundreds of thousands of gold by the end of the game, and like more money than you need for any reasonable, amount of equipment. Yeah. But
which I guess makes sense for like a arc.
But it also takes 30 hours to get to that point, like minimum.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Big game.
It's a huge game. Like, I'm shocked they actually fit all of this on one disc. Well, I guess I'm not that shocked because, again, they repeated a lot of assets. And I think that was just to cut corners because of their time crunch they were on.
Or maybe it's like some kind of underlying little story.
You think there's a little bit of a like story within a story? Like
maybe there's been some forced inbreeding within these communities because, I don't know.
Okay.
I didn't get far enough to figure it out.
This is why we brought in the guy who went to film school. He can read behind the director's intent.
No, I did. Yeah, it was kind of not bad. I mean, it's early 2000s, so you're kind of used to kind of seeing the same NPC a little bit. But for a town that populated, it was a little like one or two different ones thrown in there would have helped a lot. But was I the only one that was just completely lost in the what was that first city you go to?
Linnell?
Yeah, like I was just like, how do I find the castle?
It's
just
too big for its own good.
It's massive, and it has like that PlayStation Silent Hill fog, like distance rendering, so you can only see so far ahead of yourself.
I didn't
anyway,
get fog. I got like it would like kind of almost like repeat the wall, but then it would change depending on like what was coming up.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah,
little visual
so it would be
glitch.
like what I was looking at, and then like, oh yeah, there's a little house.
Jesus.
But I also like, did you realize you could like go into most of the buildings?
Yeah.
Like
yeah, it's pretty.
It doesn't tell
again,
you.
Crazy impressive that they like did all of that, but there was no point to it really.
Yeah, like how you can inspect every well, and it's like every eighth is like, here's 5 copper.
Mm-hmm.
Or like some of them you inspect, it's like cool water. Well, then some of them you can't. It was it does feel like they had a lot of hopes and dreams that they were gonna make it more in depth, maybe a multiplayer kind of experience, and then they just like, well, this is it, boys. Funding's out.
Yeah. Or it's like when you're writing on something, you write in big letters and you realize you misjudged completely how much space you have left. So it's like you just squidge in the back parts of tiny little.
And that was
letters
gameplay and
pen.
story.
It does
See, and I don't think
exactly.
I don't think it was necessarily that they had MMOs in mind. I think they were trying to shoot more for like a Baldur's Gate, or
see that. Like a less
like
serious
one of
Baldur's
those. What are those? Those CRPGs, right? I think they were trying.
Yeah, but they wanted to do it with like MMO
Yeah,
style graphics
like
and stuff.
it's the story's grand enough, like it expands to different places, and I don't know, the way like the spell system's set up, and you've got your party roles. Like it felt like they were trying to make a D&D game.
100%, yeah.
Definitely.
It just I can separate the two sides of myself, the child in me and the adult in me, and still enjoy the memories of this, but coming back to it as an adult, like I thought it was going to be rough, but have some real good bones, kind of like an Anachronox or something. And I don't know, I'm left with like oh wow, it just kind of like cribbed the best games that were going on at that time.
Oh yeah.
But didn't do.
Yeah, I mean, that's not necessarily
no,
a
but
bad
it didn't
thing.
do even like the level those games did with it. And if you're going to crib something from another game, expand on it. Like make it better or put your
Well, they
twist.
did. They made it huge.
Yes, they literally expanded on it. Yeah.
It's funny because like the first thing I thought, like when I got to the world map, was like, first of all, like, wow, world map. But then I was like, oh, this looks kind of Mountain Blade-y.
Yeah.
You know, like I could see that. I mean, Mountain Blade isn't this big, like the world map, but like they don't have cities this size, like maps this size. The map sizes on this are huge. They're insane.
And I didn't realize you could scroll your map for so long.
Yeah.
I was just like, gosh, dang it, I need to figure out. But then it doesn't matter because it doesn't like. There's no like. It doesn't say, oh, this is this district. This is this building. It's just like, here's a map.
No, it's just more.
Which I mean, I kind of like miss those days of like when a game like I don't know, it's almost like a little bit immersive. Like you're not gonna have a map that like as you walk around magically updates itself, and like you do have to like build that kind of like memory of like, oh, this part is whatever shop, and this little side quest guy is over in this corner.
Mm-hmm.
But usually, you have, like,
usually
landmarks and
do,
stuff that
but
help you do that.
This is also one of those games that I remember I would like play over a weekend. Like it would be, I'm going to play and beat Summoner this weekend. Like I'd do that like a couple times a year, I don't think I could go and play this in like little bits and pieces. Like as an adult, it would be very hard to
like remember.
Yeah, pick up and play. Even though it does have its own journal system for like quests, the real
I wasn't expecting
the real
that.
depth of information of like actually what to do is talking to those unforgettable NPCs that all look the same. Like they're the ones that are going to tell you all of the information of how to go there, what to do, and like how to do it.
Head east from the boulder.
If you're not taking notes or really paying attention, like then you're fucked because you're gonna walk right by that boulder.
Very, very Morrowind-y in that sense, which I liked. You know, it wasn't like go here to this quest point and then talk to this guy. It was like, I don't know, man. I heard there's some dude out there that does a thing. Maybe go find him, maybe don't.
Well, but just like bring me back my lost sword, and then you're like, where? It's like I lost it east of my house.
And that's the issue.
I don't know.
I like that stuff, and I wish more modern games did that. But the reason it worked so well in games like Morrowind was they put enough time in to add the details that you could actually tell the environment different from each other. Like things got so granular in detail that it was fine to describe things that way. You started to live and immerse yourself in the world, and this game just doesn't do that.
No, you're right.
Everything is one flat palette, just kind of repeating itself. So it all blends together. And I would find myself getting like dialogue fatigue and just wanting to skip it. And then I realized like, oh, I've just skipped like a whole 3-paragraph explainer on this thing. Fuck. And I'd have to go pull up an old GameFAQs walkthrough to like recap myself on what I was supposed to do.
You know what? I had trouble looking stuff up on this game because anytime you typed in like summoner blah blah blah, like 18 different games came up.
Yeah, it's like MOBAs and
like,
shit
what?
like start popping up.
No, not that one.
Yep.
Back when you could just name a game summoner.
They got in early on this one. I'm actually shocked that there wasn't a game prior to this one by the year 2000. A game hadn't come out named Summoner.
I'm sure there was.
Yeah.
There's probably something for like the Commodore 64 or something.
Some kind of Karnov knockoff.
I'm actually surprised this game got a sequel.
You say what now?
Frankly.
PS2?
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
Oh
no, PS3.
What did it come?
I think it was a PS2 game. I know it got a. We were talking just before we started recording it. It got a like a glow up that got put on GameCube.
Yeah, it's PlayStation and GameCube, PS2 and GameCube.
GameCube version is just called like Summoner : I think the Goddess Rises or something, Goddess Reborn or something. But it is a Summoner : though. Yeah.
Full circle, Arvid. Full circle.
God, I'm sorry. I'm going to read you the plot synopsis for Summoner 2. Joseph, the player takes on the role of Maya, the queen of Halasar, who the goddess Lahara reborn and can transform herself into a variety of creatures. Maya must heal the legendary tree of Ela, the source of Aosi, the language of creation. Mm-hmm. Like, this is just pure fantasy gibberish.
And at that point, I think, the Legend of Alandar had come out at that point, which is already kind of a ripoff of the first Summoner game, but they were like, instead of summoning summons into your party, they turn into the summons, which was a lot cooler mechanic. And then Summoner 2 came out and they just copied Alandar's version. I don't know. It was weird. I will say...
Did Final Fantasy X rip off this game?
Not hard at all.
I don't know.
Very soft, I think.
I think pretty hard, man. I think...
So it's about a summoner. Sure. I mean,
this game made its way over to the
no one likes
side of the world, and they're like, "Oh,
that's true.
We got a new idea."
Yeah, I don't know. I will say, as far as the combat goes, one of the little touches I liked was the fact that if Joseph dies in combat, and has a summon out, the summon will turn on the party. So it's this little like lore nod of Joseph as a summoner is actually ripping these creatures against their will, like from their realm into this one and forcing them into combat.
If I never hear some of these like death cries from the characters, it'll be like you die so often in this game. Like They even give you like the revive spell.
Like,
It's almost
yeah.
free, basically. It's just like half your party's gonna die every fight.
Yeah.
And they all have the same sound bite when they die, and it's all way louder than everything else. Like that was another thing, was the sound balance was way off for me. So it's like when the characters die was really loud, and then also the ka-ching sound when you sold things. It was like super loud. I don't know what it was like. I was like, oh, I'm gonna sell a bunch of stuff, and I would turn the volume down on my computer because I knew it was going to, like just ka-ching, 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 ka-ching.
I thought it was weird that like when NPCs did have voiced lines, it was actually really well done. But the party, like the main core party members, were all fucking trash lines. Like I don't know who recorded those, but they did a bad
especially.
job.
Yeah, no, it was very hit or miss. Like sometimes it sounded like they were in a sound booth and they were legit audio people, and then sometimes it sounded like it was someone's like voicemail. Mm-hmm. Like it was
like they were just walking around with like a fucking talk boy or something, and just like, oh, I got an idea for a line. Let me record it real quick.
Yeah.
Anyone have anything positive to say about this game?
Yeah, I think like the story itself, as bland as it was, I think it was it was cool that they thought the game that far out. Like the end of Act 1 could have been the end of the game if they wanted it to. They could have made a much smaller, shorter game. It would have been. Yeah.
I'm familiar with like the plot beats of it, you know.
Mm-hmm.
I did some research when I found out last minute that we're going to record
That you were going to be having to talk about a 30 to 40 hour game like a day later. Yeah, that's fair.
So I was wondering, sorry, it was just like a thought I had because it's as far as I got in the game is like who started the trope of like at the very beginning of your RPG that the chosen one has to sneak into the palace of the sewers.
I don't know because I mean, there's a lot of sewer palace things. Like the first one I go to is Dash Rendar Shadows of the Empire. You got to go through the sewers to get to the Imperial Palace there.
It's always,
or actually, I think that was the Black
I think you're
Sun.
thinking of like Ocarina of Time, right? Where you're the. I mean, you don't go in the sewers though, do you? You just go in the.
I don't think there's any sewers.
You kind of do a little bit,
Like the trench, I guess.
Yeah, the moat.
Yeah.
But no, it's in so many games that like you go through the sewers to get into the royal palace.
Well, I guess it's like a free sneak sequence you get. It was just so much like frustrating padding with this game. Like you only reason to get in the palace is to talk to your old mentor or whatever the crap, and it's like
Iago. Yeah.
Yeah, how long should that take? Should that take a dungeon and an hour of like?
You're goddamn right, it does, Arvid.
Yeah.
Like, could we just have?
Yeah,
it
but you have to
happen
meet
when
the
we
inhabitants. The
inhabitants
sewer
of the sewer,
bots.
the 3 different enemy types that you fight over and over and over again.
Well, the hobos give you a bounty for one of their claws or tails.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I got so many of those freaking tails. Had bags of them later.
You seem like you weary from the burden.
It was. God, it was just like I just. I'm sorry.
Does this game hurt you?
I mean, I don't know. Like I gave it an honest try, and it just did not reward me. Like it was just like I'm gonna fight through all this stuff, and then I'm gonna get like another bit of plot, and then it's like a 2-minute cutscene that sounds like it was written by like 13-year-old Arvid writing his like
fanfic,
Dungeons and Dragons campaign. You know, and
I'll say as someone who's like obsessed with grinding, this was kind of like. I mean, I didn't get far enough into it to like get fatigued or anything, but because at the first city you can like run into the guy who's like go out in the highlands and find whatever blah, and I didn't understand that like there was regions, so I just started running around outside, and then like, grinding for like 3 hours just with Joseph.
Yeah, yeah.
And I love the random encounters, which are like very much like a like early Fallout, but plus,
yes,
which is cool, but also they're like ridiculously big every time, and it's like, oh no, it's like 30 dudes
Yeah.
that are way too overpowered for you right now.
That's the issue with the combat scaling, was that there wasn't any.
Yeah.
I kind of think that you're right. I do think that there are some parts of this that maybe ended up in the first Dragon Age.
Did these people also make that game?
No, that was BioWare.
Oh, okay.
But I do kind of wonder if like
some inspiration or something.
Yeah, exactly. Like there's some bits of other RPGs that I think maybe have been borrowed from this.
Mm-hmm.
Specifically, like that transition to the random encounters and like how you have that random encounter map afterwards and stuff like that. I mean, again, you mentioned that's a Fallout thing, but it's a 3D version of that. So
I will say I'm normally not a fan of I guess like passive combat systems.
Mm-hmm.
Arvid will tell you how much I was pissed off when I paid human dollars for Final Fantasy 12 and found that out.
I mean, you paid how much for it? It's
Like nothing. Yeah.
It's a 22-year-old game.
Yeah. Well, I mean, some games, like if it's that old, you're either paying like $90+ for a physical copy, or it's like
That's true.
$10. Fuck it, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
really,
it's either $5 or $500 these days.
Yeah.
And so I was like real upset with that game being like a kind of passive combat system. But this one I almost didn't mind because it was passive, but it had like active elements in it.
Yeah, because of the chain attacks.
Yeah.
The chain attack system was a good idea. They just executed it poorly because you
had a
only were able
party.
to focus on one character at a time. The whole way the combat's designed, though, is between cycling party members. So it would just take fucking forever to level anyone's chain attack combos if
Because
you
they
did it
wanted
the right
you
way.
to grind. This is for grindy boys.
Yes, it was to pad time, and I do not appreciate that.
I mean, I like a grindy game, but I also like a grindy
Plot
game that
gets
gives
in the
me
way
like
of grinding. They're little commercials of the grind that you play.
I mean, I feel that sometimes. Like in Final Fantasy X, my favorite bit is after the freaking blitzball sequence. You can just run up and down that highway, grinding stuff out. But like, I like you get different enemy types and different combat
Nope,
situations.
just the
and different, like
and let's be honest, the
Oranians.
that's what they were.
what?
Yeah.
Oh god.
Yeah.
Yeah, there is some very troubling depictions of like the bad guys.
Yeah. From Orentia. Or whatever it is. Yeah.
They had a very
it's a little on the nose.
Specific style of dress.
It's not great.
Yeah, and yeah, it I mean that's another thing that added to like that kind of 80s schlocky fantasy thing where it's just like the bad guys are just kind of vaguely Asian looking and have like droopy mustaches for some reason. You get like just that whole Mongolian biker aesthetic that was a thing back then for some reason.
Yeah, I don't know. It's a very tropey game with a very shaky combat system.
Here's my
and
question. Was it tropey when it came out, or is it just tropey in
Yes.
retrospect?
No, it was. I mean, it's probably more tropey now
Yeah.
because like now I've seen most of those 80s fantasy action movies and I played a lot of fantasy games, but I mean, as an 11-year-old at the time, I probably hadn't. But if I was an adult at the time, I probably would have, you know. Like I would have seen enough like 3 a.m. terrible fantasy films that on TNT or whatever that I would have been like, wow, this is. Also, you know, I've read fantasy novels. I've played D&D. I've read people's, you know, D&D campaigns. It's not dissimilar to any of that. At the time, certainly, I would have.
Well, I mean, that ending credit. I mean, my question is, you know, did they just come up with that ending little Easter egg thing and then like, fuck, we got to build a game around this? Or like,
well,
Considering they didn't write it.
yes, considering that was like a skit from a comedy troupe that was already like getting passed around and they just dubbed over with their own animations.
Some early internet.
Machinima.
Yeah, exactly.
But
I used to watch this.
yeah,
fucking
suck at Rooster Teeth. They did it first.
Machinimas.
Speaking of which, R.I.P. Rooster Teeth.
Yeah.
What's Rooster Teeth?
Red vs. Blue and what was the other one?
Oh,
That was
the Halo?
Funny. Yeah.
Yeah.
I never watched. I'm aware of their.
They had a
existence,
funny
but,
one that was based on like the Sims animations. It was good.
Yeah, it was very funny for 2003 to 2004
Yeah.
thereabouts. And then
Oh wow, they're old.
I haven't thought about them since.
Oh, I think about them all the time. Like all the time.
The only machinima I ever watched was the Freeman's Mind.
I don't know Freeman's Mind.
It's like just a guy playing Half-Life 1, but he just like has Freeman's like internal thoughts.
Oh, okay. Fair enough. I like
That's
that.
pretty good.
Yeah.
I think he's done all of it now, like
All the
expand-
Half-Lives?
like Blue Shift, Wars.
I kind of like Blue Shift a little more than Half-Life 1. Like, once I'd done everything there was to do in the original Half-Life, Blue Shift became like my new favorite go-to.
Well, Blue Shift was like the goofy cousin.
Yeah.
I don't know what Blue Shift is.
Oh, man. Blue Shift is you play as Barney.
You know when you're going in the tram at the beginning of the game and you
Yeah.
see the guy banging on the wall? Like on the door trying to get...
Yeah.
That's you in Blue Shift.
That's-
you
yes.
play that guy.
You're showing up late for like your first shift as a security guard. The
Interesting.
day that everything happens to Gordon Freeman.
It's like a Rosencrantz and Guildenstern kind of
It's
a thing.
so fun. It's silly, but like it's just literally Half-Life. Like they just
Yeah.
you will walk through areas that Gordon has
Or you'll
just gone through.
Yeah, like
or
you
like
see him like in the background. It's
Yeah,
really well
yeah.
done.
yeah, it's
Interesting.
very good. If you buy Half-Life now, I think
Oh,
Blue
you just
Shift
get
and all
all of
those
them,
come with
yeah.
it. Yeah,
Valve's like, we made enough money off this. It's okay.
yep. Because there was another one too. I don't remember.
Opposing
There was
So
Force.
a
Valve actually made this Blue
was a-
Shift? It wasn't just a mod?
No, it was an actual
no,
game.
it was them.
Full-fledged
Like, they put
game.
it out. Yeah, they put out one with that was the other one. Yeah, you play as the strike team going in. One of the characters off the strike team.
If you ever want to see how bad video games can get, watch the evolutions of Opposing Force.
Oh,
Yeah.
I'm unfamiliar with that.
Yeah. There's like Hunting Freeman, which is like a notoriously, I've never played it, but I've just seen. And it was like,
Interesting.
this is the worst game ever made.
I could
But
see
Valve
that,
was
though.
no longer involved.
Like,
They
it was
just like,
no. It was so easy to like do stuff back then. Me and my buddies used to fuck around with like Half-Life assets back in the day and make little games.
Oh, yeah. And then that just led to Skibbity Toilet.
Skibbity-doop,
Now we got Skibbity.
Skibbity-doop.
30 years of frickin' or 25 years of what's that engine called?
Whoa. Gary's mod.
Yeah,
Gary's mod. Yeah, we'll just call it that.
I'll never forget that Christmas that I got Half-Life 2. Because I
You
didn't...
get the orange box.
that was a good one.
No, it was just Half-Life 2. It was like the Steam launch stuff. And I remember I just had to spend like 6 hours downloading Steam. I was like, what does that mean? I gotta download a thing to play the game?
Yeah, I was late to that. I didn't have to download Steam until Civ 5 because I was even buying like games in the box at Target until then.
Like I was so obsessed with Half-Life for like the years between Half-Life coming out and Half-Life 2. So my family just like knew they had to buy me Half-Life 2.
Yeah, actually, I also talked my family's ear off, and I started taking computer classes in school specifically so I could justify needing my own desktop, and got myself an Ethernet cable to run to it when I would want to get on Steam, because it was the first time I'd ever experienced like any like online service for a game. Like it was daunting trying to get Half-Life 2 on a computer back then. I remember being like, I don't know if this is even going to work. It says I need a internet connection to verify like the game, and it's not going to like
It was
just
so
let me
confusing.
install it
Yeah.
right from the disk. I had no clue what was going on. But I was like, I guess I'm just going to follow this, and it took hours and hours, and finally like
worst
it got
and
it.
best Christmas. Because I just sat there looking. I was just like, at any moment it's gonna pick up. It's just gonna go. But it's like, no,
that
just
opening sequence,
trugging
though.
along.
So
yeah.
fun.
No, I didn't play Half-Life any of them until much later.
You missed out,
I
buddy.
I was an MMO boy.
Being like a child that doesn't understand things, and like just immersing yourself in like Half-Life.
Yeah.
Great.
I mean, I was immersing myself into the world of Ultima Online griefers.
Oh.
So a whole
fair.
different level.
I was immersing myself in a lot of Deus Ex and Half-Life.
Yeah. Oh, which speaking of which, the latest one is free on Epic Games right now.
Which not Human Revolution.
Mankind Divided.
Divided.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I wish I could run it. I've heard good
Very
things.
good. It's very good.
I could
Like-
not run it. Yeah.
It's what I wanted Cyberpunk 2077 to be at first. So I just went back and played that, and then they fixed Cyberpunk, so now I enjoy it for what it is.
Yeah, I mean, they try and do different things. I think. I mean,
Yeah.
I think when Cyberpunk realized it wasn't going to be DSX, that's when Cyberpunk kind of figured itself out.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I know I mean, that's a shame, Marcus. You would like it, although you wouldn't. I mean, it's not as good as I guess it depends on how much you liked
Human Revolution.
I can never remember. Yes, Human Revolution.
I enjoyed it. I really did. I'm not gonna say mechanically it's better than the first game, 100%. You know, time and
much.
Yeah, story wise, I don't know. You know,
It takes a while to get going. Like I think like it doesn't really.
yeah, you don't want it to go right off the bat.
Yeah, no, it does. It like it follows a lot of like we are way off track.
Oh, yeah.
It follows a lot
I
of
don't
like
care.
pre-traditional cyberpunk storyline beats until like 2/3.
Oh, really?
3/4 of the way through.
That's the one you're in like Prague and you're like an undercover agent, right?
Yeah, it's mostly Prague, which is cool. Although Detroit's better, so. Although
Detroit
it
is the dystopian future.
I'm not really.
Detroit will rise from the ashes to fall again.
It's much less interesting.
Yeah,
than
Detroit
that.
is cyclical. Yes.
Yeah, no, it's a lovely place.
Yeah. I'm going there September? Yeah, going in there in September.
Oh yeah, you're real close. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like 3 hours away.
That real? Oh, I wouldn't call that close then.
I mean, it's almost as close as Chicago. Chicago's like 3.5.
Yeah, but Chicago's on the other side of that big old lake there, bud.
That giant body of water. Yeah.
Well, it's
The
the
little
bottom
puddle.
of it. It's on the other side. He doesn't have to like cross anything.
No, actually, I could just get to drive like along the lake the entire way, which is really nice.
Oh yeah, you can take the train too. If you went to Grand Rapids.
The train takes way too fucking long.
Oh yeah, and it runs once a day.
Really?
It runs 2 times a day, but it's one of them like is crazy early in the morning, and the other one's
Yeah, it's
very
like
late at
6
night.
a.m.
Yeah.
and 6 p.m.
Between Detroit and Chicago, runs.
No. Grand Rapids. Well, technically, the one I would do here is like I think Grand Haven has a station that's closer
Yeah,
to Grand
right.
Rapids, but yeah.
The line connecting major Midwest regions runs twice a day.
Yeah, this is
This is the
America. Oh,
passenger
one of
line,
those-
though. This is the passenger line,
Oh,
not
okay.
like
Well, no, sure, not
yeah.
the freight line, but
Right.
Yeah, no.
Okay, I'm not talking.
No.
About
This
that,
is
but still,
this is also Detroit. You forget like no one. You can't invest money in things that aren't cars in Detroit.
That's
Are you
true.
kidding me?
Anything that is mass transportation in Michigan, they really frown upon.
That's why like they made the People Mover the worst piece of public transportation in the history of humanity.
I don't know what the people
I'm surprised
mover
that
is,
wasn't. Is that India's?
but I imagine it's just a giant claw. Or it's like from that Robots movie with Robin Williams,
yeah.
the animated one. No, the animated one.
You know, just it's like a giant spring that
yeah,
throws you across the city.
people mover.
No, it's imagine like if like Six Flags made Tomorrowland instead of Disney,
Oh,
and then
just
like their version of like the monorail thing.
death rates are through the roof.
Yeah,
Just
exactly.
goes
it's
upside
just
down
that
for
old
no
man.
reason occasionally.
Yeah, exactly.
I could see that old man being like the next Jigsaw. That would be a fun crossover.
I mean, I have no reason to believe he wasn't.
Yeah, I mean, you never see them coming back from Six Flags in
That's
the bus.
true. Interesting. I think Six Flags is missing out. They should definitely start a urban legend that the Six Flags dancer is like a stalker.
They need to
Roams the
start an
park.
urban legend that people still visit Six Flags.
Well, they got bought by Cedar Point now. They're like their rivals.
Oh.
So now like all the amusement parks in America that aren't Busch
Are owned
Gardens
by the
or
same, yeah.
Disney, you know, all those- yeah, exactly.
That's cool.
Yeah, I'm sure that'll work out just fine.
Yeah.
So what do we think? Way game or way lame?
I will say right in the middle, you know? Like it had
Way tame.
Way tame. Like it had some beautiful things to it, but it didn't quite execute, you know.
I think thinking emotionally, I'm gonna have to say way lame. But if I was trying to put on my historical hat and like try and view it in the context of where it exists, I would probably aim more to way tame. But I have to go with my.
But you actually
go with
played
my
it?
heart and soul.
So.
Exactly. I have to say way lame, but
I'm going to say way lame as well, not speaking as childhood me, because childhood me, way game, all the way.
I can
Love
see
this
that, yeah.
game.
If I was a child and I played this game, I would be up all night You know?
Yeah, I mean, it was so fun. And I remember like having a little notebook, jotting little notes down as I would be playing, like planning out my routes and trying to like where to go next or farming this creature for this special thing that I need from it. I loved all that shit. But the mechanics are just so
Not there.
flawed. Yes. Yeah. And now that I've experienced those mechanics, but just done
The
properly.
love of a woman.
Also, yes. Also experienced the
it's
touch of another
24
human.
years later, all right? You can't harsh on them for not loving you like a woman.
No, it's and that's what I'm trying to like separate is that it's not their fault that it hasn't aged well, but also it wasn't great back then either. Like, I think if a more experienced person had come in and played then, go ahead.
No, not okay.
Okay. Let's get this off your chest.
No, I can't say it online. 'Cause
We
it's
can
gonna sound
always.
so weird.
Oh.
I have been involved with people younger than this game.
Oh, sure.
Yeah, but you could have said that about other games we played, Marcus. Why this one?
Because
This is not the oldest game
that's
we've
true.
played.
But I think this is
Yeah.
like the idea
By
of like the
means.
2000 come out and then like
Right.
Oh,
This
right.
is like
Judging
around
it
that
2000.
time.
at
Yeah,
its
this is like
standards.
around that time.
Actually, Orphan came out in 2000. Orphan was also a
Orphan-
PS2 launch title. Like
Yeah.
you mentioned. This was all-
Anachronics was that 99 or is that
I think it was.
2000?
I think it was 2000 as well.
2000 also. This was like the year everyone had enough storage space to make big games in 3D
the first time.
polygon like spaces. Yeah.
Yeah, everyone had their first multi-gig hard drive.
I remember when I had my first multi-gig hard drive.
It does seem like there's like a theme around games that came out in 2000 is like where they didn't quite execute themselves properly, but they led to a lot of, they crawled.
Yeah.
So a lot of future games could.
Yeah, a wild growth spurt.
Yeah, I think you're right in that there was a lot of, especially. I mean, at least I don't know if it's just that we tend to cover the games that are like that on this podcast because we're like, oh, well, remember this thing? It hasn't survived the annals of time like a lot of other games from this time period. But you're right that the end of the PS1 era was like a lot of the games of that generation were perfected, and the games of the next generation were
Just
imperfect.
They're figuring
so
it
you
out.
were like, yeah, exactly. So like I'm thinking of Final Fantasy IX, and I'm thinking of we just said it, Legend of Dragoon. I'm trying to think of like this time period RPG. I'm not thinking about Anachronox and Summoner, which
PS2 games versus PS1 games. Yeah.
yeah, exactly. So like your PS2 generation is still
It's
nascent
in an
while you're
infantile freshman era.
Yeah.
Yeah.
exactly.
I mean, they went on to do great things. They all definitely went to like their Harvards and MITs years and years later, but
Sure.
Yeah,
Where they started
like
was a
your
little-
metaphorical
Yeah.
Harvards.
was a little,
Yeah. No, exactly.
a little rundown community college.
This game still, like, again, had the bones to be a good one. So even though I'm saying it's way lame, it's not entirely the game's fault. I will, since they had to rush it, I will say that like there was a place
imagine
where
if they
this
had, like,
could have
another
existed.
year of development time.
Yeah.
Like we'd be
making
like,
more NPC, avatars,
or like
to,
fleshing
mix
out the
around or-
combat a little bit more.
Yeah, like having more than one combat mechanic. And I think that's interesting that you mentioned though, because like Volition, I think they have Red Faction and Saints Row, and they have a certain writing style that's kind of like maybe a little over the top. There's a humor and like a tongue in cheekness to it, whether even when they're dealing with more serious.
I love those
subject.
Red Faction games.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and it's just not present in this at all. Like you kind of maybe wonder if that little skit at the end is like them trying to like, and this is what we wanted to write.
Yeah.
Because like later on, that's definitely like a hallmark of the Volition games, and it just isn't really present in this one.
Yeah, I guess in that way, it kind of reminds me of like my own fanfic or fantasy writings as a kid, where you're like a teenager trying to sound adult in the way you write. So everything's got to be very serious and stuffy, right?
Doc and yeah.
Yes.
And then
Yeah.
the Big Boob Maiden came out, and I saved all.
I don't mean adult necessarily in
That's
that way,
kind.
but yes, there was sometimes that. Yes.
Yeah. I mean, there's some attempts at showing cleavage in this game. I mean, they're like
The way
very
the
polygonal.
women NPCs walked, yeah, definitely. It was just like,
Yeah.
okay, they put some thought in that.
Yes.
For some reason.
Yes. Narrow waist, wide hips on a lot of the NPC women in the game.
Oh, to be fair, a lot of the male NPCs have narrow waists too. It's just the
They don't have
it's kind of
the wiggle.
Yeah.
The step.
no, though they have a different
They don't,
animation,
quote unquote
walk
wobble
cycle.
with it.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if these kind of they kind of creak with it.
Yeah, it's all pretty stiff.
Yeah.
Huh. Well, it's always interesting going back and playing an old game, but
It is. You know, it does. It puts a lot of like retrospect on
Context.
it. And, like, context.
Yeah.
Especially because you have your prior child opinions on it versus all those hours of different games you've played since.
yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, I only played
Top tier.
amazing games, top tier amazing games when I was a child. So it's interesting to know what it's like.
I
to play
went
bad
in
games
completely
as a kid.
blind all the time, just occasionally being told today's a day where you get to pick out like a game if it's under this amount of money at the store. And I would just be able to go
You
based
poor
on
soul.
the cover, right? And like a
I
little
mean,
description
like I
on
said,
the back.
the cover art on this is amazing.
That's how I found
This is like just
the Final Fantasy
pure-
series.
Sure.
Yeah, I also managed to not walk home with this sort of thing from the video store. You know,
Yeah.
there were some bad ones, but those usually involved having a mech on the front. That was my weakness.
Mech Warriors.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, just having played Mech Warrior kind of tainted you. Like, oh, obviously it's going to be a great game because Mech Warrior.
Well, that,
is
and then
an
there was
amazing
also Armored Core too. Like I definitely played that when I was a
That
kid.
is
Some Robotech.
And Front Mission.
front mission.
And
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, you just put a robot or like a mech on the front of a.
Or was it
game
Robotech or
box, and I don't
Battletech?
know.
Battletech was, I think, what they could.
Yeah. Or yeah.
Yeah.
Battletech is Mech Warrior.
Robotech is like
Macross.
the RPG, right?
Battletech is
Oh,
the
Battletech's
RPG.
RPG. Okay.
Yes. Robotech is a shooter as well, like a third
Yeah,
person
but
shooter.
that's like the Macross genre thing
Yeah.
with the jets that turn into robots, I think. Anyway, so I guess I probably did occasionally take home a bad game, but that's because it had a robot.
I didn't know any different. It's a game, and I was enjoying
fair.
it.
And to be fair, nowadays looking at like this box art, like I said, I can't get over how great this box art is. Like it's all this like amazing painting stuff. Like I have Keith Parkinson wallpaper from his like EverQuest art. It's just not literally like desktop wallpaper. Like
Okay, I thought you meant like for
I did
a
too.
home, a room.
Like,
As I'm looking at the
I would
wallpaper
love
in
that.
your room,
That'd be
it's
amazing.
like, huh.
yeah, you can't actually tell, but these are all like
Yeah.
orcs and titty elves
Sure.
on this wallpaper.
Sure.
It's just too small. But yeah. All right. So I'm going to take a break, and then we'll come back, and we'll talk about some other stuff.
Sounds great.
In its golden age, Ikamos had been a prosperous realm, but the glory of the empire came at a terrible price. To Ikamos, the river god, the empire sacrificed its children, drowning them in dark waters swollen with rain, until Amun, the last of the priest kings, wore the ring of stone. Born with the mark of the summoner, Amun made war against the river god. And so the vengeful Ikamos destroyed Amun's empire, sinking the realm below a vast swamp. To save his people from the eternal torment of the drowned, Amun changed them into stone.
And we're back.
Did we ever really leave, though?
I mean, everyone but you
I
did.
mean, not.
No, I left. I went and got pizza.
Oh, nice.
I went and procured food and ate a full meal.
I took
I
a dumpy
moved
wumpy
furniture and then-
read a little bit of the newspaper.
Yeah. No, that's fair. That's fair.
So we have a little bit of news.
Ooh.
I'll just go ahead and
Yeah.
say a couple things real quick. First thing, last time episode I mentioned that a lot of the Command and Conquers were on sale on Steam. Like the day after, I said that it's EA dumped like a bunch of their old stuff on Steam, and all the old Command and Conquers are now available in a bundle. Which is now where you can only buy them in this bundle, which is I think $5 for like literally every Command and Conquer right now.
Red alert.
Yeah.
So and they dumped a bunch of other old EA games on there. So they're like Alpha Centauri's on there, SimCity 3000's on there, all the Populous games are on there. Populous at the beginning, by the way, amazing soundtrack. Not a great game, but the soundtrack's amazing. So, and they're all like, I mean, the sale, I think, goes till the 21st, so the day after this episode comes out, probably.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
But definitely worth checking out. And they're not, their sale price, they're not exactly expensive when they're not on sale either. So that is why the Command & Conquer games are going so cheap for a minute there. But the other thing we have to talk about, which is less news, I guess it's news, but Akira Toriyama died.
I mean, I'd call that news, but yeah.
Less video game related, but more like just news.
It'll be like 3 weeks old by the time the episode comes out. But no, I mean, like, you know, he is video game related. He did all the character art for Dragon Quest.
That's exactly what I was talking
Trigger.
to Mike about when he was telling me he's playing Kakarot in like Memorial.
Yeah.
And I was like, you gotta play Dragon Quest way better. Not that I've played Kakarot, so
it's better than you would think it is, actually. We did an ep on Kakarot.
Yeah, I know you did. I'm just a huge Dragon Quest fan, so.
Yeah, no, that's fair. Actually, I probably will go back and re-download Dragon Quest on my Nintendo.
I never finished 11.
That's what I was telling him, is that it was the first Dragon Quest I ever played. I was really impressed by it. I enjoyed it a lot, but I was like really high level, like upper like 40s, maybe even into my mid 50s. Might have even been a little higher, but I remember being like, I wonder how close I am to like the end of the game. And I like looked up online because I was like, it's still pretty linear, and I thought this was supposed to be an open world game. And they were like, oh no, it'll become an open world game once you're done with like the first quarter of it. And I was like, what? I've had like 60, 70 hours so far on this game, and I'm not even a quarter of the way through it. Holy shit.
Oh yeah, Dragon Quest is famous for like, oh, you thought that was it, buddy? There is a story arc, but no. Oh, it was a joke story arc. We just threw that at you.
No.
That was the beginning story arc.
Jesus.
Yeah.
It's just insane.
Another game that, like, it's not a great game, but like a decent game I liked a lot for the PlayStation 1 was Tobal, which he also did all the character design for. Which is
I'm
like
not familiar with that one at all.
A 3D fighter, kind of trying. It had like some. It was a bit like, if you remember Airgites, or where it was like a 3D fighter that also tried to have like some RPG side game mechanics. Some pretty similar vibes to that. Definitely worth checking out if you're like into that PS1 anime aesthetic. It kind of has a lot of style, even if the gameplay is more on the Virtua Fighter side of the 3D fighter spectrum.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, it's a bummer, especially with Sandland coming out next month.
I know. That's gonna be so good.
I referred to it in my head as Mad Max Dragon Ball.
Yeah, it definitely has that Mad Max.
Pretty much. Yeah, I'm gonna start going back and playing games, if not outright like work done by him, related to it, like Kakarot started with. I'll probably do Chrono Trigger again at another point.
Great game.
Kakarot's still getting DLC too, which is
I
like
I went ahead and picked up the season pass so I can experience the end stories with Oob and all that.
Oob.
When you defeat Boo and Boo becomes Oob.
What?
Did you never get that far in the story of Dragon Ball Z?
No.
Okay, so spoilers for like 25-year-old story. But Boo, you know who Boo is, right?
I know who Boo is.
Brought back by Bibbidi, whose dad was Bobbidi. Boop. Boo. And or it might have been Bibbidi and then Bobbidi and then Boo. That would be the lineage, I think. Yes. Anyway,
Bibbidi, son of Bobbidi.
Yeah. So they bring, this wizard brings Boo into the world through this like spell, like breaks the seal to bring this thing back. It's super weak at first, but its whole power is that it can consume enemies, much like Cell. So they really just kind of rehashed Cell, but this time as a pink gumball.
Yeah.
So why is his name not Ub?
Oh, Oobs? Because there's two U's.
Oh.
Come on, Arvid. You threw me off.
Took you for an anime guy, Arvid.
I know. Jesus. But he's not.
I know
he needs his fantastical stories to be on paper for him to like get really into them.
Well, anime is
not true.
Drawn on paper.
I mean, I used to like anime. I watched your Cowboys Bebops.
Mm-hmm. Long story short, Boo gets split into two parts of himself, the good part and the evil part.
The evil part is Ub.
No. That's just Evil Boo. Come on. Sound like an asshole. Eventually, once Evil Boo is defeated, Goku wishes for Boo to have another chance at being like a human. And so, using the Dragon Balls, Boo gets resurrected or reincarnated, I should say, and like reborn as a human being with like the soul of Boo inside. And Goku begins to train them as the new protector of Earth, since he knows he doesn't have that much time left.
Because he's died like several times.
Because he's died like so many times. Yeah. I mean, he was already supposed to be like dead forever during the Cell Saga until Trunks came back and gave him his heartworm medication. So,
I mean, R.I.P. Akira Toriyama, but I don't encounter a lot of people missing his storytelling as much as they miss his...
You know, Dragon Ball was way better than Dragon Ball Z when it came to that. They hadn't like dealt with all the like aliens yet, the power creep. It was just like, this is a weird looking person. Yep, that's a demon. Like,
God,
they didn't have to
I used to watch
explain everything.
more of the Dragon Ball movies than I did the show. And I feel like that was a better like plot wrap than like...
Oh yeah,
the show, you know, they're
they
always
they had to
cliffhanger
end at some point.
Always talking.
They had to end at some point. The frustrating part was almost all of the movies were just like considered non-canon. Like even if they directly referenced things that happened in the show,
They
they're just like,
explain
yeah, but
plot,
it doesn't count.
but they don't like, yeah. Great movies though. I used to watch them like over and over and over again.
No, the Broly ones were always the good ones.
Yeah.
Don't remember that one.
Broly?
Who's that one? Broly?
Broly, like broccoli.
Like an umbrella?
No, he was Saiyan. Broly, the first Super Saiyan, is the movie, like the first movie that Broly's featured in. And pretty much every time after that Goku like hits a new level of Super Saiyan, they come out with a new Broly movie where Broly can do that first.
So it's like a prequel?
No, it's a non-canon series of stories of a Saiyan who like can kind of achieve Super Saiyanhood, but often it's through like false mechanical or like scientific means. And
like
they
Sonic
have to be
Adventures.
defeated by Goku.
Interesting.
It's been a while since I've seen it all. I might not have it all exactly accurate. Hence why I'm going back through Kakarot to like play the whole like expanded universe story.
No, that's fair. So do you have anything else? Did you want to throw at us, Mike? News-wise?
Yeah, I've got some... No. Arvid's made it clear. My
true.
stinger
I left it
sounds
in.
aren't welcome.
I left them in. I haven't removed them yet.
That's just, hey. All right, fine. It's not even news, though. This is a different segment. This is what's coming up. I'll think of a segment name for it at some point.
Do we want to do a quiz before we do that?
That's fine with me.
Okay. I have a quick quiz. So lately I've been watching a lot of like... God damn. I've been watching like a lot of speedruns, and I keep finding games I've never heard of because usually they were released on the handheld consoles that I forgot existed. So I've got for you guys 5 games.
God, we're at the guest the system.
5 games that are spin-offs of popular series released on handheld consoles, and I want you to tell me the system that they came out on.
Okay. Do we get choices of system?
Do we get like
no.
time?
No.
Like a release
They're
date?
handheld systems. I will give you that. They were handheld systems, and they were released in the United States.
Okay.
Like a release
So-
date for the game.
No, I'm not going to tell you that. That's too easy. Good lord. These are popular series that you know, and
Wait,
that's all. That's
are they all
you
going to
guys-
be like the Metal Gear Solid games that you just are surprised that exist?
There are similar games to that, yes. So I'll just give you guys a nice easy one to begin with.
Okay.
Grand Theft Auto Chinatown Wars.
PSP?
This is a top-down, old school style Grand Theft Auto, but it came out like after the 3D ones, obviously.
It's got to be PSP.
Let's say, depending on when,
We're not allowed to know.
could be the Vita. I'm going to say the Vita,
Oh.
PlayStation Vita.
I'm going with P. He's going with Vita.
It was the PSP and the Nintendo DS.
Oh, shit. Okay.
Nintendo
Actually
allowed
came out
that?
on 2 consoles.
I mean,
that's why-
Nintendo has the GTA trilogy on
Huh.
its store right now. They also have just a bunch of like hentai games. So Nintendo's
Yeah, I
like
know.
really loosened up the rules.
And there's no like when you
filters
search
or
the
anything.
Switch store, it's not like it's not like Steam where you gotta agree to see
Yeah.
that.
No.
It's just like
It's just right
you-
there.
we know what you want.
You
We know what
can
you
hide it, but you have to hide it by creating a children's user account, like completely. It's
Yeah.
a really bad design on Nintendo's part, since their
It's
whole
not bad
focus is
design.
like safety.
They're
and
rolling in the
family
dough
fun.
from that.
Well, that's true.
No. I don't know though. Like, I mean, that's the thing is like Switch being a cheaper console. It's like Nintendo's always been the walled garden, right? And you can just put your kid in there and you have to worry about it. Like, there's no
Yeah.
weird things that they can.
You see the
download. There's
Nintendo
no-
seal on something, like it's going to be at least playable.
Yeah, and now it's full of weird porn games and stuff that just doesn't run on the Switch properly at all. So there's just
You know this from experience, Arvid.
the stuff that doesn't run well. Yeah, of course, there's
the
tons of
porn
games that
games,
like.
No, that's true. They also have like an issue with porting a lot of things over to themselves, and the quality
Well,
control
they
just isn't there.
They just let third parties put stuff on there. And it used to be that Nintendo was much more selective about who could what third
that was,
parties
like,
could
their
publish
thing,
on
yeah.
there.
Seal of approval.
Exactly. All right, so next one is God of War, Chains of Olympus.
Vista.
Okay.
Vita. Sorry.
Vita Vita
Windows
Voda.
Vista.
I'll go Windows ME. Now, let me think. I'm gonna say this one's not that advanced. I'm gonna say like it's a Game Boy Advance game or something. No, what?
No,
it wouldn't be
no.
Game Boy Advance. It would be
It's a
DS.
PlayStation. It's a PlayStation. It's got to be on.
Oh, it's a PlayStation only though. You're right. They've always stayed exclusive.
No, but I know the new God of War is available on the Switch, I believe.
Well, it's on PC now. Not the newest one, but it's coming. Like,
I don't think that the Switch could handle God of War.
or maybe the
It's
newest
got
one is out
fucking
now.
like what? You don't think the Switch can handle God of War?
I don't.
It's got Monster Hunter on there.
That's true.
It's got a Monster Hunter.
It's got Monster Hunter Rise, which
It's
is better
kinda
game
fucking
mechanically,
wild.
but the
No, I hate the
graphics
game
are a little
in
lower.
general.
Oh, I
It's
like Monster Hunter Rise.
I mean, I've never played a Monster Hunter before, and I bought it. And I was just like, well, fuck this. It's not fun.
No, that's fair. I'm gonna go PSP this time. You're going Vita?
I believe it's Vita, but
Okay.
It is PSP.
damn it.
Yeah.
Wait, are they all just gonna be PSP?
Yeah. That's the trick to all
That's
of
the
this.
old kicker. PSP was the greatest system ever made.
There's
Why
gonna
don't
be
you
it's
buy
all
it?
PSP and one Game Gear.
They're not all PSP.
He's fucking with us.
Metal Gear Solid, Peace Walker.
Oh,
Huh.
that's also gonna be either PSP or because that didn't come out on the fucking GameCube. I mean, Game Boys.
No, this would have been like pre or just post 3.
No, Peace Walker was.
Or was it between 2 and 3?
I think it's between 2 and 3.
So, what is that, like 2004?
If that.
Yeah. I'm trying to remember like where I was mentally when I finished like 2. So, yeah. This is a tough one.
Guessing it's one of the PlayStation handhelds because
Yeah, I'm just going to say PSP again. Like,
I'll agree.
I'm going to lock that in.
I'll second that emotion.
It is PSP.
God
I
damn,
will
you
point
son
out
of
that
a
it came out
bitch.
after
It came
Metal
out.
Gear 3.
Snake
It came out
Eaters.
after. Okay.
Came out in 2010.
Jesus.
All right. Next one. Resident Evil Gaiden.
Ooh.
Huh.
It's like a ninja Resident Evil.
Like if Resident Evil was a
Describe the game.
Castlevania?
Can you use the
It's
game
like
in a
Resident
sentence?
Evil. There's no ninjas. It's just Resident Evil. It's just a Resident Evil game, but it's called Gaiden means adventure, I believe, in Japanese. So it's usually something they mean like. See, it feels like when they say Gaiden a lot, they mean spin-off or like side quest kind of a thing.
Oh, because I've never thought of any of the Resident Evil games as adventures.
Yeah, I don't think they mean it like adventure
I know.
games. They mean it like to have an end adventure. Oh, okay.
A side quest, if you will. So Resident Evil, I believe also is no, because they were on the GameCube, so it could have hit Nintendo.
Mm-hmm.
But I believe all the GameCube ones were just re-releases. There wasn't any like.
It would be the DS or the 3DS though. Like if it's trying to do, I mean, I guess technically it could be a GBA game if it's like old enough. Because let me think, like No, we would have been moved past the GBA, like, at that point. Maybe not. Like, early 2000s would have been... I was still rocking a Game Boy Advance by then.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
I think I actually didn't get a Nintendo DS until I was in college.
What was that? Like
My first,
two?
like my freshman year. I'm not that old. No. That was like 2006.
On your after you got back from the war.
Yeah.
Oh, after he came back from the surge of Iraq.
No. Oh wait, yeah, I guess.
Yeah.
I was thinking a little more too.
I was
like, yeah,
not
okay, America's done
I
war
was
too.
not in shock and awe.
I was just thinking like you came back from Paris or whatever. But yeah, no, I guess there's been wars.
There's been a
World War
lot.
II.
Almost continuous.
Yeah, I can't place this one.
I'm gonna say
in
DS.
time or
I'm gonna say the
space, and I'm
Nintendo
just
DS.
I'm gonna fight you if he's wrong, Harvard.
Okay. It's the Game Boy Color.
Oh my
Fuck me, really?
Yeah.
So when did that
That
come
old.
out?
Came out in 2001
That's fucking wild.
in Europe first, and then Japan and North America.
You know what? That's interesting. What year was Pokemon Yellow? When did that release?
That was 99, I think.
Yeah, that sounds right. 98. It was 98. End of 98, but yeah. So, yeah, color would have still been kind of going.
Relevant, yeah.
Yeah.
And last one, Silent Hill Origins.
No, that technically wasn't.
I'm gonna say it's got to be
game either.
early in the series.
Yeah, I'll give you the O in Origins is stylized as a 0.
Sure.
So for the 2000, maybe.
It's a prequel.
It's a yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, it's a prequel game. Which means it came out after the first one, but probably before 2.
You think so? Because didn't the first one
There was a good amount of production time between the two.
Yeah, I thought it was because the first one kind of didn't it didn't sell well. It was just it wasn't
Well, because the Resident Evil series was
considered
still really strong.
critical success, financially, gameplay wise and mechanically. Everyone's like, oh, this is a great game, but the West wasn't really biting yet.
They needed to see the Silent Hill movie before they become invested.
I will give you some information. Silent Hill, the first one, came out in 1999. The sequel came out in 2001.
I thought it was a lot longer development time between the two.
Nope. First one was a PS1 game. Second one was a PS2
2
game.
years is a long time.
Back then it was.
I guess so. That's true. What did it take Skull and Bones? 12 years? We said. So, sometimes you can
routine is still
overbuild
going.
a game. I know. Routine. I just saw it on a list.
So actually, I found out what happened with routine. Sorry to Arvid.
No, but
Apparently,
this is very important. Tell me.
the developers said we're not happy with what we have, so we're starting with square one again.
Oh God.
What game
Oh,
were we
God.
talking about?
Routine.
This game that Marcus and I
right,
used to
you
just
told me
talk
about.
about all the time.
Yeah. Apparently, the developers a year ago said no. We gotta start over.
They have a Patreon by any chance? Or a
Probably.
Kickstarter.
They probably have 8. But 0. I'm gonna say maybe early 2000s would be my guess.
Right.
2002, 2004 era. But no, I don't feel like it would be a Game Boy game though. Even though this Resident Evil kind of.
Again, it could be like a Game Boy Advance then.
You want to go?
I
With
think
that?
I could see
wanna
that.
go with
Yeah.
that?
Yeah. There were a lot of Capcom games for that.
Arvid.
Yeah, it's a PSP.
Damn it!
Fuck.
All but one.
Technically, Grand Theft Auto Chinatown Wars came out on the DS as well. So they weren't, only 3 were exclusive.
So
to
were you
PSP.
really just trying to get at how the PSP was a forgotten gem of a system?
Yes, actually, that's very.
I
true.
really
still
liked
have
my
mine.
PSP.
No, I've thought about buying one, in modern times.
I mean, honestly, if you wanted to get one, I'd get a Vita right now. I totally love my Vita, and it's still got a lot of great games on it, and you can use the PlayStation Store. Forget about it. It's great.
Yeah, no, I've thought about it hard, because you can get it's got full web access and all that stuff too.
It's got a. It was the PS Vita is so stupid, and no one should have bought it when it came out because it was so expensive. It had nowadays it's nothing compared to our phones, but it has this camera, has full web touch screen, web back. Why? you could have made so much more money on this if you didn't have all this crap that like who uses the photograph like the camera feature on a PS.
You know, that's just a weird holdover from a lot of that stuff though. Like the PS2 had a like primitive web browser function to it. The
oh yeah, but I mean that doesn't cost you more.
No, I know. It's just the 3DS.
You had to pay. You had to pay
get
extra
on a
for
web
the modem.
browser. It was very weird.
Like in order to do that, you had to like plug in a modem.
I just
for PlayStation
wish
2, which was extra.
like Nintendo would have made a DS phone. Like that.
They probably did in Japan.
That would have that would have blown everyone out of the water. Like. Fuck
I mean, it's why
like,
the
this
focus
is the greatest thing that's ever come out.
It's one of the reasons the focus is like so strong on like hybrid console for Nintendo right now, because mobile games are still like
they're trying to take over.
Huge there. Like they have been handheld game consoles and mobile games have always been the dominant thing.
I mean, that's
in
actually
sales
interesting
over
because it started to ebb quite a bit the past couple of years. With PC sales are now I think almost as much as mobile game sales.
And that's
now.
probably a lot due to like streamer culture, like just taking over everything.
It's really taken a lot of big Japanese studios by surprise. How big PCs are in general. Like everyone, like industry people are like, well, you know, their PCs are going to get more and more expensive, so no one's going fewer people are going to buy them. But
well, that's
not happening.
Well, no, and as Steam Decks like keep getting cheaper and cheaper and better, like, you know, streaming consoles like that, and as game streaming becomes more viable, like it's going to become a
Steam Deck doesn't stream.
I know Steam Deck isn't a streamer, but you know, Google tried to do the Stadia for a bit there, like
that did well.
It will eventually get that way, is my point. And that's going to be like a scary thing for consoles.
I don't know about that. I mean, I do think that like you'll still have. I don't know about like the constant streaming of stuff, just because the way games are built now, you're like always trying to like max out hardware, and you're never going to be able to stream as fast as the hardware is able to produce on it. So like as long as games get better, quote at graphics, quote unquote, and then you're never going to be able like you're always going to be playing like last generations games.
Or just games that don't focus on intense AAA graphics as much. Yeah,
exactly.
Which a lot of the games are my favorite are not like intense or graphically intensive games, right?
Right.
So,
yeah, I just don't think you're ever gonna have like a lot of people playing like Call of Duty on like a streaming console.
But if your streaming hub can also just be a dedicated sit down PC gaming, you know, experience for you.
But then
there's no point of the console anymore.
Yeah, but then it is a console, and it isn't a console. It's the synthesis ending of Mass Effect 3.
Yes, console makers are going to have to have a come to Jesus at some point.
They're just gonna make little computers is what they're gonna have to do. You're gonna have, just like you buy an Acer or a Corsair computer, you're gonna be buying a Microsoft.
I mean, it's going to be that. Well, you're already kind of buying a Microsoft, right? But
people already buy
but you know what I mean.
Yeah.
That's just you need to talk to the microphone.
I'm sorry,
not next.
The way the thing is, if I look straight on, I have to look through this little hinge thing, and I hate it. So
yeah.
Yeah, that's why I have the lower.
All right,
arm.
Arvid. Well, hindsight's 2020, bro.
Not yours.
We know I can't touch the device, lest not disturb its slumber.
Yeah, that's why you shouldn't buy your recording equipment at Dollar General.
I didn't. I bought it off JeffBezos.com.
AliExpress.
Probably would have got a better deal. I'm not going to say how much I paid for this thing that's been nothing but a curse.
I don't even want to know. I'll feel bad.
Yeah, you don't want to know. It wasn't triple, but it was.
Okay.
It was still too much.
Okay.
I felt guilty after I said yes to the internet about it. But I did it for you guys, all right?
I appreciate it.
Apparently, I did the wrong thing, though.
I think we've all experienced.
We all
some
get to share
regret,
in your weird
from purchasing equipment for this.
Your first mic, yeah.
No, my second mic.
Well, I was talking about
even.
me. Well, my first mic was yours that I had to use the old handy dandy
vice grip.
Yep. Yep, it had some wear and tear.
Yeah.
You're still there. Still
We can't hear you, my dude.
You can't hear me?
Yeah, now you can.
Yeah. The old vice grip.
You were just off mic again.
Yeah, I don't.
Yeah, I mean, you can always go back and listen to the Anachronox episode if you ever missed that old one.
No, I was like, I sound like I took a bong rip and fell down a half pipe.
All
I
right.
still do, actually. It's like it's just my voice.
Take bong rips and fall down half
Well, I
pipes.
haven't smoked weed in forever.
But you've fallen down a half pipe recently.
I mean, I would if I was near one, probably. So.
Fair.
No, I had to come to terms with I kind of sound like a stoner, even though I'm not. And it hurts, you know.
No kidding. It's okay. I sound like an absolute dork. So.
But you are.
But yeah.
I sound great, so I feel good.
You sound like you're doing your best, you know.
Yeah.
I'm glad I sound that
like-
way.
Oh yeah, next question.
What do we got coming out this week? No,
That was the end of the quiz. It was
So the
all
quiz was
PSP except for
PSP?
one.
Hell yeah. Well, one
Yeah.
bit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, pretty much, except for that one Resident Evil game on the Game Boy, which
I'm actually
guess,
kind of
you know,
interested in that. Like, did
it's
you
weird
actually play it,
looking.
or was you just?
no. I just saw someone else playing it. It's like a top downy kind of thing, but like when you get into fights, it goes to first person.
Oh,
it's very weird.
So like, kind of like the dungeon parts of like the early Phantasy Star.
Oh,
Yeah, a
weird.
little
Yeah,
bit, yeah.
okay. Very interesting.
I love those first couple Phantasy Star. I used to play them hard.
Yeah, that first one is
one's
is long.
Mm-hmm.
I was gonna say an amazing, beautifully made game.
I haven't played it in a long time, and at the time I was like, "This isn't Final Fantasy VII. I don't like it."
Well, it starts with a PH.
That's true. I was waiting for like the Toe Jam and Earl music to kick in. Just never did.
All right, great. I love them.
But Mike, what we got coming out this week?
Okay, so the week that this is coming out, we've got first up, well, technically not the first thing coming out, but Princess Peach Showtime for Nintendo Switch. It actually looks kind of interesting. It's her at like a theater performance trying to fill in roles while the theater's been like taken over by some, I think Koopas, might be Koopas, might not be.
Is it like a WarioWare style game, like where you have to like do like random kind of fun little?
I don't know if there's gonna be mini games and stuff, but it's more gonna be like one of the Yoshi games or even like a Kirby. It seems like where each stage, which is just like a different act or maybe it's a different play. I'm not clear on like the exact story format. It's going to have her in different roles, which will give you different powers, and you're trying to do different objectives. I don't know. It looks different enough that I'm open to giving it a shot.
Sample,
Yeah, check it out. I don't know. It looks slick too.
And it's a Switch release.
Yeah.
No, it's a Game Boy release.
Yeah.
It's
Going
actually
back to the old
it's actually
PSP.
a
Game Boy game.
Famicom.
Handheld Famicom.
But yeah, that's coming out on the 22nd. That looks really interesting. Let's see. What do we got next? Alone in the Dark.
Oh,
So
great series.
I've
Is this
never
remake,
played them.
or-
Yeah, it's a remake of an old 90s series.
I know what Alone in the Dark is, but I mean it's a remake of the
I
first
like how
one,
you
or
look
the-
quizzical. I mean, I guess.
Well, I've
you're
never
like, alone in the. I thought it's a '90s series.
I've
you
never
heard of this?
heard of
You heard
the
of this?
series
You heard of
at
this?
all.
No, it's great.
You never
'cause
heard of this? Yeah.
In the first one, you get. It was great because at the time you never had this like whole thing where you like a choice of which character to play, and they both
Yeah.
had like different stories. But it was like the main guy and the girl, and they give you a little like synopsis of them. And it's like the guy, his synopsis is has a double-barreled revolver, and the girl is like has a flashlight, and you're like, obviously, I'm going.
I mean,
double-barreled
to be
revolver.
It was
to be fair,
It was a
they've
huge influence
still
on
got
Resident Evil.
That right here. It's let's see. David Harbaugh is going to be playing the guy, and Jodie Comer. Don't know who Jodie Comer is, but she's going to
these
be
voice actors then.
possibly, yeah. She's Emily Hartwood, and yeah, private investigator Edward Carnby. I guess, was that the investigator? Like, that's the name from the originals?
I don't remember
it's
anyone's name.
been since the 90s since I
Okay.
played it, so
I don't know. I'm really interested to check it out. It looks good.
a physical, like, molecular level, I'm not even the same person, so
Wow, that's beautiful.
it's not. Those memories, are they the same? Or are they just like memories of memories?
Interesting. I don't know. It looks very interesting.
Am I Marcus?
Like a nice spooky. Yeah, I thought
No.
Resident Evil as well. Like when watching the trailer for this.
The people who made Resident Evil have said that Glow in the Dark was a big
Very
inspiration
cool.
for them. So
Great
I did not
game.
know that.
I didn't
Wasn't aware of
realize it was like that far, like time-wise distance for them to be inspired by it. You know?
yeah, no, the first one came out in '92, man.
Really? Wow.
Yeah. I mean, I didn't play. I think I played like a early, like remaster or like port for something. I don't remember. I must have
I
played
mean,
it
that
on,
makes sense because like the first game was like 2 or 3
DOS,
discs.
yeah. Yeah.
Oh yeah, look at that. 92, 93. They made a second one. They also made something in between called Jack in the Dark, which
Oh.
does not sounds like a different kind of horror experience.
Yeah, like that whole fixed camera angle stuff and like the way you move around the mansion.
What is it? Is it
that's
called
all
Tank
Alone in the
Controls?
Dark.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, but I don't. Does Alone in the Dark have? I remember the camera angle being that way. I don't know if Alone in the Dark had the same controls though, because I can't remember if it was like an actual like if it might have been a clicky. No, it was 92. It wouldn't have probably been a clicker. I don't remember exactly how you maneuvered, but the like camera angles and the way you looked at everything was just like Resident Evil. It's like the little proto survival horror kind of a thing.
Yeah,
Well, no.
But yeah, that's, I didn't know they were
frick,
making a new
I
one.
can't remember the name of the game,
really interesting.
but there is one that is that exact thing, and it's way before. And I feel like
You're talking about
Yeah,
it's like seventh whatever.
I can't tell you, but it's like an old. It's like a straight up just consoles weren't really out yet, you know.
Oh wait, I know this. Hold on
Yeah,
a sec.
Arvid knows this.
That was me not remembering what it's called. I don't remember, but I know you're talking about.
But it was so. I mean, obviously I've never played it, but if you watch any playthroughs of it, you're like, obviously all the games that we know of that came after were heavily inspired by it.
Yeah, that game,
yeah.
you know. That. Yeah, I want to say it was like the Seventh Seal or something like that. It had a name like that.
That's that
Not
movie
the
with
Seventh
Johnny
Seal,
Depp.
but-
No,
No,
that's the
That's
ninth
the ninth
gate.
seal. Ninth gate.
The Seventh Seal is the Ingmar Bergman.
Yes, it is. Yes.
But crap. It doesn't matter. I'll probably cut this because I'll sound like a fool. All right. So that looks good. I look forward to seeing that.
Yeah, I'm really curious. If I enjoyed enough, I think I'll go back and
Play the Princess
check out
Peach.
the
yeah.
original. Well, also just check out the original Alone in the Darks then too.
Oh yeah, you should definitely like
Yeah.
give them.
You should.
No. Well, I mean,
It's
maybe I don't know
it's
how
really-
it would hold up.
It probably doesn't hold up particularly well, especially because I remember it running really slowly, like on like the 5 frames a second kind of a situation.
Well, I mean, probably about at this point, like 6 years ago, I actually had a restaurant that I ran, but no one came in because the city decided to redo the water lines and use the front of the building as their base of operations. So it just looked
Sure.
like a condemned
Yeah.
building at that point because there was just like all their equipment out front and like their porta potties. So I just brought my PS2 in.
Oh, okay. I was wondering. We're going
Yeah.
for a long walk. I didn't know where we
Go
were
for a
going
long
back.
walk, and I
like, do I need to bring a
brought
snack
2
for this
games
one?
there. Well, 3 games actually. I brought Zone of the
I
Enders.
know
Oh.
where you're talking about now. And
Zone of the
yes,
Enders, beautiful game.
I know, so good.
And Silent Hill, I believe 1, and Alone in the Dark. And I had like 2 people that worked for me, air quotes, but they were like, oh God, I think the oldest one was like 16. And like they just like it would be like, oh, we have nothing to do because it looks like we're a construction outpost, but we're an open restaurant, and like so I would just show them video games, and I like started showing them Alone in the Dark, but they were afraid to play it because they're like, oh what? This looks scary. I'm like, yeah, they just watch me play it. I'm like, oh, big spooky coming up. I would interact and like have them like, you know, tell me what to do while I played it. Trying to be like,
like you do with your like 5-year-old
exactly.
nephew.
It was like I was basically was like babysitting them, but they got paid to be babysat by me. I was paying them for me to babysit them.
That's the wrong way to do babysitting, but yeah.
Yeah, you know, it was a bad business model. Place didn't last.
Yeah, no, it's really impressive going back and looking at, especially when you think about it originally coming out in '92. Like,
yeah, I didn't realize it was that
like,
old. I honestly, my initial thought was like mid to late.
Yeah, I think the PlayStation must have been a remaster because I don't think I played it on the PlayStation. I think I played it on a PC, like in the mid '90s. But yeah, that's cool. You guys have been playing anything this week? Besides what we played for the podcast?
I mean, I already mentioned I was playing.
Oh, did I play that game?
Some Kakarot.
Yeah, which I'm like, no, I've looked at pictures since you told me about it. It does look like a very fun game.
It's very fun,
and I know you guys. I
it's
listened to your
beautiful,
episode
too.
about it, and like,
Yeah.
but seeing pictures of it, you're like, well, damn. It's not just the fighter, you know.
No, it's not. It's you
like an
actually get to
open
like
world
explore.
fighter.
Yeah, like
Oh, yeah.
You load into like different world stages, kind of as you move around the map. But like they can get pretty big.
It's like it does a really good job of making you feel like you're in the setting.
Yes.
Which I think is not something I've ever experienced. Not that I'm like a huge Dragon Ball fan, as this episode has proven, but like there are a few games that really bother to explore the setting, I think, and it's really fun that game does.
I haven't cracked this game yet, but I might have been gifted a game. I don't know if I was the only one that was gifted this game or not.
Oh, we're talking about the Battlefield 98,
Battlezone
and
98.
Battlezone.
Have either of you played that game before ever?
I think I did back in the day.
Okay,
yes.
so Arvid, it's an RTS, but at any point you can click on a player character, and it is a first person. You become that character, and it is legit. I mean, at the time when it came out, like you were like busting little nuts every time you fucking played it.
Yep.
Are we gonna do this for an ep then?
I think we should, but if we don't, then everyone should just enjoy it, and we can talk about it.
I believe
like,
we can
as
play
a
with
little
each other
end
online.
of.
Yeah,
Oh,
wow.
that would be impressive.
I think right. I'm not sure, but I think we can like they have servers. There might be like Baron beyond Baron. Outside of like the few hardcore fans that like remember it, you know.
Yeah.
Which who will kick your ass in seconds because
Yes.
they've been playing it for 20
they've
years.
macroed it. Look, you're not harvesting right. You'll die now.
Yeah, no, I'm very much looking forward to playing this.
And it's on sale right now for a whole $3. So
I know.
Yeah.
I was pissed because Mike bought it, but I just sent it to you guys because if any of you like had a little, maybe I was just gonna buy it for everybody.
And that would have been fine too. Yeah. You just needed to send me context along with like you just sent me like a store page.
Well, I was wondering I was just like, hey, what do you think of this? Is all I was saying. And then next thing I know is
the unspoken rule of this podcast is if you buy a game for someone, it has to be played on the podcast. Like you get like inverse veto power if you buy the game for everyone else. Then we have to talk about it.
No,
so I guess we will be talking about it soon.
Yeah, if you want to.
I mean,
I guess that.
Yeah, I'd like to.
Mike gets to.
Yeah. No, I'd like to.
Well, play it.
No,
first.
I mean Marcus.
Well, I did buy it.
We have to unless Mike did. Yeah, Mike.
My plan was to buy it for you guys, but Mike beat me to the punch.
Now you know. Don't show your cards to me.
Yeah, no. I've been playing more of the new Crusader Kings DLC. It's like, I spoke glowingly about the expansion last time, and I generally agree with that. It's still a good one. There are way too many plagues. I mean, I know it's medieval Europe, but like, there's like a plague every other year, and it gets a bit too much. especially because it's like, I mean, it'd be one thing if like they were just like, it's a plague, who cares? But everyone in the kingdom has to like flip out every time there's a goddamn plague, and I'm like, there's another plague. There's always a plague. Let's just not care about. It's bringing me back to like 2020 in ways I didn't really want to. I'm just kind of like, can we either like make a bigger deal about the few plagues or not make a big deal about the tens of thousands of plagues? Can we just? It could use some tweaking, I guess, is what I'm saying. And also, I started playing I got moved on to the like 3DS period of the Ace Attorney games, or HD ones,
games.
And they're like all 3D instead of being sprites and stuff. And
I don't know how to feel about that.
I don't know if it's just that I'm not clicking with the 3D art, but I just feel like the writing's even dipped a little bit in quality going into like the Ace Attorney 4 and 5 or 5 and 6, I guess. Or it feels like it's a little more. I don't know. It feels almost like fan fiction, like they're writing to the beats of the old stuff. I don't even know if there's different writers. I guess I could look that up, but I'm not going to. But they're like, it feels like they're writing to the beats of the games that already came out, as opposed to like trying to continue the story or write. You know, it feels less good.
Mm-hmm. Huh. Well, fair enough. I haven't played the originals, like the older ones, so I only can go off these new ones.
The original ones were.
Yeah, I mean, like the first 4 of the remasters. Like I'm talking about the old ones, like the remasters of the old ones. Like I've been played. So there's like 6 of them plus like that one that's set back in time, and you know I played through 1 through 4, and they were all pretty good. But this 5th one just seems like a bit of a step down. I actually shouldn't say I know anything about 6 because I haven't played it. They have names. I can't be bothered to remember what their names are.
Marcus, what have you been playing?
Take a guess.
Summoner, a little bit, and Cookie Clicker.
Yeah, clicking them fucking cookies, dude.
Yeah. Hell yeah.
No, yeah, dude. I'm like, it's a struggle. Like, I'm at the point where it's just like, what's the point? You know?
Yeah.
Like, I'm making 0 progress, and like, even ascending does nothing for me.
It's probably time to
Just
play at least a different idol.
Uninstall.
Yeah. I think you've beaten Cookie Clicker then.
I haven't. No, I haven't.
Cookie Clicker
I'm only
doesn't. You don't beat
I'm at
Cookie
48% of the achievements. So no, I'm.
Cookie Clicker beats you.
It does, and I think it's. Let me see what my because it tells you how long you've been clicking.
Yeah.
111 days. Honestly, that's a good quit.
That's a really good streak.
That's a good quit.
Yeah.
It's a good. Yeah, I think that's fine.
Cookies baked.
I think
It's respectable.
You can walk away
All right,
from
let's
that.
start.
About a third of a year. Yeah.
2 comma 3 comma 4 comma 5 commas with an 8 at the lead. I don't know what number that is, but I got that many cookies.
It's very good. That's very good.
Yeah, so you should probably play something other than Cookie Clicker, just for your own sanity.
No, it
Marcus.
is like.
I'll start. Look, have you ever played Reigns?
No.
Or
Reigns?
is it-
Like
I think it's
REIGNS or like REIA?
No, you got it right the first time. Yeah. It's a very simple like swiper game where you just swipe left or right, but the card comes up with a prompt and you can either answer like in the negative or affirmative.
I played a
Generally.
game similar to like that, but it was like I can't remember what it's called. It's like Downfall or Prophecy or something. It was like
There's other.
well, you were trying to like decipher like the future of humanity through like a choice. Agree?
Yeah,
Disagree?
it's a lot of that kind of stuff, but the way it works is that the choices you make as king during that run, time
Affect
keeps
the
moving
next
forward,
one.
and so you always have like you're playing the next king and the next king and the next king, and
that
they all
sounds
gain their own
interesting.
titles.
That does
You can
sound
like
interesting, yeah.
if you hire someone to the court as one king, like they're now like their deck gets shuffled into the cards, so now their like events pop up, and that leads to new events, and yeah. It's fun, but you only have to play it like sometimes a minute, like is all you get of a run because your guy only lasted for like 8 years, you know?
You're saying you can't handle Crusader Kings. It just sounds like simplified.
It's speedrun Crusader Kings, yeah. That's why I like it. It's simplified. Yes or no?
don't have to worry about finding the correct marriage alliance for your son-in-law.
There is a little
Your
combat
son.
game to it. Occasionally you get in combat, but it's also very simple.
No, I used
It's
to play
just a
this
swipe.
one game on my phone where you basically had a deck that it was like a rogue.
Solitaire?
Air quote roguelike. No, you had like a deck of like armor and abilities.
It's a roguelike deck builder.
And you went through a map basically. And the point was like to get to the end of the map. And then and your deck was like your hand, and like you could encounter enemies and blah blah blah. Get your deck out,
Nice. Yeah.
Like I wish I could remember the name of it. It was real fun because it was basically just like it was very simple. It wasn't just like you're not min-maxing on this in any way. It's just like, well, I guess with your deck you could, but you didn't get to keep a deck outside of a run.
Right. It was a full reset every time. Yeah. I like those. Those are good.
Oh yeah, I played the frick out of it until like at the point where someone was just like, "Marcus, stop." Or what was it?
Like we are having to do with Cookie Clicker right now.
Yeah, no, and you're right. It's gonna bring me
become a
nothing but
problem.
pain.
Yeah.
Nothing but pain.
What happened to that little handheld retro deal you had?
I still got it. I'm afraid to pick it up because I know it's gonna happen.
What?
I'm just gonna start fucking playing some fucking shitty Shrek game.
I mean, you've got like the entirety of the Game Boy Advance catalog on there, right? You're playing.
Yeah, Hassle in the Castle,
like,
bro. Hassle in the Castle. Don't quit.
It's gotta be, even that's gotta be better than Cookie Clicker, right? At least at this point.
I don't know, man. Cookie Clicker.
Just to, like,
I'm literally
get-
every time I'm looking down.
That's bad. That's
Cookie
bad. I feel
Clicker,
bad
Arvin.
for introducing this to you. Like,
You gotta get the wiggle worms away, or you're losing cookies, Arvid.
if I could go back to that fateful day
If I
in
could
October,
turn back time.
that is the third time that song has come up today. I am haunted
a
by
banger.
Cher. We should probably end this podcast before Cher ends it for us.
I'll fight her.
Thanks for listening to our podcast, This Save State. If you have any questions or comments and suggestions, please email us at thesavestatepodcast@gmail.com.
Yes.
Or you can get at us on Blue Sky
Sure.
at the Save State Pod. We also have a YouTube presence.
We do have a YouTube
feel free
presence,
to-
yes.
Bask in our YouTube presence if you feel necessary.
Sometimes I comment on the YouTube videos.
Sometimes he does. Sometimes
I don't.
he doesn't. Alright, so thanks for listening.
Well, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank
You're
you.
welcome.
You're welcome.
I've been Arvid.
I've been Mike.
My name Marcus.
His name Marcus.
Bye.
If I could turn back time, I wouldn't have recommended the Summoner. Nope. Not the.
I
See,
would.
fuck that one up.
Nope. it's
You
just-
want to put a
just Summoner.
the. You really
Yeah,
do.
no articles. No punctuation.
Not even a full
Just
R.
Summoner.
Summoner.
All right. I'm going to stop recording.
Yeah, that's fair.
To be fair.